Has everybody gathered, Adriano?
Yeah, we all back.
Okay, and we have everybody?
Not quite, but there is 2 people coming, I guess.
We just have 2 more to come?
No, we have a few more. We are 24 now. We were 31.
Okay, great.
So there is a few more that should come.
Okay.
Yeah. You're not counting with Brad and Melinda and Anna.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the middle of the night for those guys. So that's why we're taking turns. Which sessions? I'm in your time zone, so that's why I'm in all of them. But they will alternate the ones they are in. Oh, and Tulio is moving. Okay, good. Well, I hope this twice a day format is working for you. It's a new one for me, and I think it could work quite well, where we don't get completely zoomed out by too much screen time, but we're able to meet twice a day and take care of a few things in between time. So let us see how it goes. Well, tonight I asked you to think about your favorite foods. And I thought, what do I know about my Latin family? Well, they like to dance. So we'll have that conversation later. And you like your food. I like your food. So I wondered if everyone could think about what's your favorite. I didn't say meal. I didn't say which meal. Maybe your favorite is dessert. That's sort of mine. But what, if you're going to prepare your favorite meal, what's an ingredient in that meal, and what is a spice that it takes to make that meal? Okay, so if you don't have that, then go get it, because I think you should be home. Everybody have it? Hold it up to the camera.
I did a draw of it.
A drawing of it. Okay, fair enough. That's a wonderful way to innovate. Reach the goal. Good for you. Okay, well, you are going to go into your small groups, and I want you to make a list of ingredients. Okay, what are the ingredients that you need to make your favorite meals? Okay, so everybody can say, this is my favorite. And then together make a list of the ingredients that it takes to make those meals. Okay, so if it takes cornmeal, if all of your meals take cornmeal, write it once. You don't have to write it again and again. But I want one note from each group of the ingredients to make your favorite meals. Okay, and we're going to use the jam pad and that front summary sheet that's blue. It doesn't have anyone's name on it. So your group's going to make one sticky note that has all of your ingredients on it. Okay, so let's go talk about our favorite food. I hope everyone's had a good dinner, so this isn't uncomfortable for you. I had a bowl of cereal. I didn't have time for dinner. I hope you're not like me. Or maybe you're Latin. Maybe you'll have dinner afterwards and have a late night dinner. So go into your groups now and use your jam pad. Adriano, do we need to send that link again? Would that be helpful?
I can copy. I just need a few minutes to get the groups.
Oh, okay. So be thinking. Be thinking, what are your ingredients that you need? One of my favorites is making chili for my family. And I wish I had all of your recipes. I think maybe lots of families have their own special ones. Mine is very simple, but my family really likes it. And my little 3-year-old grandson had his birthday yesterday, and I missed the party to be with you. So on Thursday, after our training, everyone will come to my house and we'll make chili for everyone. So that's what I picked as my favorite. I like to eat, so I have lots of favorites, but that's on my mind, so I picked chili. Michelle, what's one of your favorite meals?
Curry.
Oh, yes.
Chicken
See, now I
curry.
was trying to think Latin America, but curry, yum. Yes,
Really well read.
good. Let's see, Luisa, how about you? What's one of your favorite meals? Luisa Luna, I see your face. What's one of your favorite meals?
Yo,
You.
el arroz con leche.
Oh, sabroso. Let's see, how about,
Colombiano. Arroz con leche.
how about Joe Masayo? Probably not pronounced that right. Yeah, she's not looking at me, so I must not have said it right. Gabriella, I can say that one. What's your favorite? Gabriella? Yeah. Gabriela Mores, what's your favorite meal?
Sí. El asado, churrasco, com batata assada.
Mm. Yum. I should have had more dinner, I think. Let's see. How about Karem? What's one of your favorites?
Karen?
Eu, parmegiana.
What was it?
Parmegiana.
Oh, ooh.
Hey, we ready to go, huh?
I
Com
want to come to your
tomate,
house for
bastante
dinner.
tomate.
Okay. Are we ready to go into our groups? Adriano?
Yes, we are.
Great. Okay, so take about 4 minutes, chop, chop, and write down those ingredients, and let's see what we come up with.
How long we stay in the group?
4 or 5, let's try for 4 minutes.
Okay, going now. Sorry, Lisa. I was ready for the for the groups of 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought about that. I thought, oh, that's going to be too complicated. I'll just do groups. So I just thought you'd follow my lead and do the 4. I mean, do the regular groups.
No,
I'm
no
sorry.
worries.
Should have talked to you about that. Ah,
No, no worries. The groups of 4 is random, so I can get on the spot.
oh,
The
I see.
actual groups I have to manually select. So
Oh, okay, okay. Well,
fine.
that I realized that and I thought, oh, it's not nice if I keep switching. We should just stay in the regular groups.
no, it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Okay. Well, thank you. One thing I did want to ask you really quick is the idea of as I asked people, what are our education?
Meu Deus, 5 minutos passou muito rápido, Jesus.
Okay, so let's have a look at the Jampad, and I need to figure out how to get to that. Okay. See, Adriano, I am not. Oh, okay. I see. They're all on the individual pages. Okay. Good. Okay, well, let's screen share so we can have a look at these. Let's see. Am I screen shared? Oh, you can? Okay, so let's flip through these and have a look at them. All right. Boy, I want to have a meal with group 1, don't you? Okay, let's have a look at group 2. Okay. Group 3. Let's see. Queso, I know that one. Chocolate, yes. Good. What is this one? Okay. Good. Okay, next one. Yum. Okay. Oh, yeah. Chocolate. I always notice that one. Good. Okay. Thanks. I think that should be it, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. So what do we notice about those lists of ingredients? What did you notice?
That everyone has a different, I don't know, thing that likes. I don't know how to pronounce it, but everyone has a different things. Yeah, diversity. Yeah.
Diversity, yep. Except chocolate. Everybody likes chocolate. Yep.
See.
Okay, good. All right, so a lot of variety and diversity. Because we have different tastes. I see Miriam. Yeah, feel free to speak up or to put in the chat. Either way is fine. What else do you notice? Yep, creativity, diversity. Did you notice any ingredients in common? Yes, no, yeah, yep. Okay. So generally, if we were talking about baked goods or we were talking about dinner foods, we would probably find that there was a set of ingredients that are common to many of the foods that we prepare. Isn't that right? We'd have flour and butter and eggs. If we were baking, if we were cooking a meal, we would have some kind of meat, some kind of probably rice because you're Brazilians, vegetables, lots of meat because you're Brazilians. And so we would find that there was a fairly small group of ingredients that are used in many dishes, but they are used in many different ways. So there's a tremendous diversity of possible meals out of a set of ingredients that are a fairly small number. Now you add in the flavors and the spices, and that's where you get a lot of different flavors, a lot of variation, isn't it? And if we're thinking about food, think about your favorite meal, what you just identified. What if you ate that 3 times a day? What would happen? It's your favorite and you absolutely love it. So you're a grown-up, you can eat what you want. So you decide, well, I'll eat that 3 times a day because I like it. Well, what do you think would happen over time? Your mother's not there to make you eat other things. Or maybe it's COVID, maybe your mother is there. I don't know. What happens if you eat that thing 3 times a day? Natalia, what do you think would happen?
Você pode abrir seu microfone e falar, tá, gente? Só para aquela pergunta, fica à vontade para abrir e responder.
If what happened if I eat the same food every day?
Yeah.
It happens to me when I was in India and I was eating so much spicy. Then I get like an allergy to the spicy. So I think if I just eat the same day every day, then you get tired about the food, or you get sickness, or you get allergies. Or for example, if I eat like fried potato chips that I really like, but if I eat that every day, then maybe I will get so many pimples in my face later.
Well said. Your mother was right after all, wasn't she? Yeah. Daniel makes a similar comment. I never want to eat that again. Yeah. Right. So when we're growing up, our mothers tell us, you have to eat all the different types of food. I'm teaching my little grandson that and saying, oh no, honey, you have to eat some of everything. So you're strong and you can go fast, you're healthy. Okay. And so there are different types of foods, right? There's the meat and the dairy, vegetables, starches, right? There's different types of foods. And we have to be thoughtful about eating what we often call a balanced diet. We have to have the right proportion of lots of different types of ingredients. Now, within vegetables, there's 20 different vegetables, but you have to eat some kind of vegetable. Sorry, if some of you haven't gotten that revelation yet, you will. Okay, there's lots of different types of carbohydrates, right? There's corn flour, there's wheat flour, there's tortillas, there's dulces, there's lots of different kinds. They're all in the same category. And if we're going to be healthy, we have to make it thoughtful. I need something from each category. I need to have a balanced meal. Okay. So if we don't, we get sick, we get weak, our bodies aren't thriving. Okay. Our face breaks out. We feel irritable, tired. Okay. We lose our health and we lose the joy of that particular meal, don't we? You think, oh, that ruined it for me. I never want to eat curry again. Well, hard to imagine, but if you've eaten it 3 times a day for months, bleh, right? So how is this a picture for us of the elements that go into our U of N training? How does this help us think about what goes into our schools, what goes into our U of N training? Oh, poor Daniel. And we should stop and pray for him. He's just shared that chocolate was ruined for him, that he ate it so much he never wants to eat it again. That needs prayer. I'm so sorry, Daniel. But how does this picture of food and ingredients and a balanced diet, how is this a picture for us of our U of N training and the different elements or ingredients that should go into our schools? What do you think?
It's not going to be well balanced. It's like what we eat.
Okay. So we have to think about what makes for a healthy school. What are the ingredients that I need to include in the right proportion to have a healthy school, right? I mean, that's one application of it. What's it? How else? What else can we learn from this picture of how we eat and our favorite meals and all that? Yeah. Okay. Jonathan comments, people are going to get tired of our school if it's always the same. Okay. If we run it the same way and we have the same teaching, same worship, same this, same that. Good.
And there are some ingredients that are not very tasty.
Yes.
But if we mix with something else, we
Yeah.
kind of hide them and people eat and like.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. Especially growing up when you were a child. Okay. And I'm going to believe the best that we're all adults. So we all eat our vegetables. But I know we have young children in our family now, and they don't like some things. Nana, I don't want to eat that. I don't like it. I say, well, you need to eat one bite. But I can either put it on the side of the plate and make it a really little bite and not prepare it nicely and just force him to eat it. Or what I've tried to do is say, look at this. You know why this is so important? Look at how Nana prepared it. This is going to be so tasty. And I give him a reason to like it. I make it tasty and I give it to him first when he's hungry. But we have a decision to make about those ingredients that are harder to prepare. They're not our favorite, but we have to keep in mind it's a necessary ingredient for the overall health. How do I prepare that? How do I serve that ingredient so that it's appetizing, so that people are going to eat an appropriate amount of it? That's a great point, Miriam. What else can we draw from this picture of fixing a meal? Come. If we were all in the same room, you'd be talk.
Some ingredients are common in different meals, and then there are some ingredients that are going to be different or used in a different way. So in our schools also, there are some key ingredients that we share with among all the people in the same college or all of U of N. And then there are some ingredients that are unique to that school.
Exactly. We all have to have the same types of ingredients. There's categories of ingredients we have to have. But within that, there's lots of variety that can be used to prepare things in a new way. Then we add the spices. The spices are quite unique. You like your chili spiced differently than I do. See, so the spices are what make it so unique. That's your culture. A school run in Belo shouldn't look the same as that course run in Japan. It should be flavored differently, right? A little bit different mix of ingredients, even though we're careful to have some kind of starch, some kind of vegetable, some kind of meat. But what can I get in Japan? What do we like in Brazil? Okay, so how do we create these meals that are healthy and balanced and yet make room for sabrosa in your culture? Okay, so we want to look at that tonight. We want to look at what have we been given to work with that we can create fabulous dishes that are tasty and nutritious? How can we spice up some of the things that are becoming routine? How do we look at each ingredient and have faith for that ingredient? Okay. So some of it you'll say, yeah, I know. Yeah. So let's look at it with new eyes. Let's come at it with new taste buds. Create something new and fresh, because that's our job as leaders, isn't it? So say, come on. There's a reason for this. There's nutrition and there's a delight. Let's make the meal together. Okay. So the types of ingredients that go into a healthy school, generally, we need to have biblically based content, don't we? And there's lots of different elements of biblically based content, but that's one of our types of ingredients we have to have, isn't it? Okay, we have to have a healthy learning process. What does that mean? What does that look like? How we're learning has to engage heart and mind, develop skills, bring revelation. There has to be a healthy learning process. That's a type of ingredient we have to be thoughtful about. Okay, and we have to have a healthy learning environment. Where are we learning? Okay, what's our classroom look like? Seating like? What are our relationships like? What is our classroom, our learning environment like? Okay, and there's not one way to do this, but we have to be thoughtful about having those ingredients. Okay, and of course, God and his presence, those are all part of our learning environment and our learning process. Okay, so we're going to look again at these things and say, think about what you already know. You're already YWAM leaders. You're already school leaders. What are those types of ingredients that we have been given? When you sign up to be a U of N leader, you know my course has to include these types of ingredients. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 minute, and I want you to think of all of the ideas that you can. Write them down. For example, modular. Okay, our courses are modular. They just are. And modular, we're figuring out, maybe that can stretch how much time it takes, but we're always going to say our courses are modular. Okay, that's one of our types of ingredients. Okay, what's another one? That this is what we do. This is how we do it. Yeah. Okay, another one might be multicultural. Okay, we're always going to value that. We're always going to try and build that into our courses. We really believe in multicultural, don't we? Cross-cultural. Okay, so think of how many of those, and I'll give you a hint. They're in the catalog, they're in the reference guide, and we call them educational strategies. It's how we do our training. What are these key types of ingredients that we have to have? Okay, your minute's just about over. How many can you think of? Tick, tick, tick. 10 more seconds. Let's see how we do. Okay. I want you to put your fingers up. Show me how many you came up with. Let me see your fingers. How many? Kleber, how many? Let me see your fingers. Okay, I think 4 or 5. Okay, the lighting's behind you. I cannot see so well. Let's see. How about some of the rest of you? Let me see your fingers. How many, Daniel? 4, good. Okay. Claudia came up with
Lisa, you muted. Lisa, I think you're muted. You using the microphone from the laptop or an external microphone?
A gente vai dividir nos grupos pequenos agora, e lá a gente pode listar cada uma das estratégias educacionais que a gente tem, né? Então, por exemplo, eu vou dar um exemplo só para trazer a nossa memória, o viver e aprender. E aí você pode... A Lisa voltou, vamos ver se ela vai voltar ou se a gente vai para os grupos já. Só um minutinho. Lisa, do you go to the groups or are you going or coming back?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry,
we hear you.
no idea what that was about. I didn't do anything and all of a sudden couldn't hear it. Okay, so let's go to our whiteboard and let's make this list together. Okay, so I want you to call out. Let's see. So let's see, the group leader from group 1, why don't you tell us one of the ones you thought of? I'm going to start looking for your names here because I can't see you now.
Ok.
Okay,
Uma das
the
coisas-
way that this works is que língua que eu falo,
que eu-
gente? Pode falar.
Uma das coisas que eu pensei foi sobre a importância do DNA e de viver isso na comunidade. Pensando em atividades que aconteçam ao longo da escola, tanto em sala de aula como em tempos de base, que faça com que o aluno se envolva com o DNA de Jocum e o DNA e os valores e as palavras de legado.
Okay, friends, the way that this work is, you see my whiteboard now. So on the top of the screen, you see a green bar that says you are viewing Adriano Esteban's screen. and on the side there is a view options in black with an arrow pointing down. So you click on the arrow and you see an option called annotate. Ou in Portuguese, Daniel is drawing now. So there you go.
Somebody.
Okay, so what we want you to do is we would like you to write in the board in English, in Portuguese, or in Spanish, or in any language you'd like to, all the things that you got according to the groups as Lisa will ask for. Beautiful.
So we can all write at the same time, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, let's see how we do.
There is a text box, a text tool, so you don't have to do cursive. You can actually type.
Good for you, Miriam. What fine motor skills you have.
I can't do that.
I can't either, but Miriam can. Miriam, the miracle worker. Good. Let's experiment, see how we go. I've never done this, so I'm curious to see how this works. Wow. Luisa's trying to write something. Good for her.
Me desculpe, eu tenho que organizar na tela porque eu tenho toque.
How do I move this word over? Oh, there you go. I couldn't get it to drag. Jóvenes, okay. Big letters. Great. Oh, somebody in the Portuguese world, who is it? Patricia, she found them. Where did you find them? Patricia, where did you find all of those qualities? Stamps? What is that? Click on stamps? I don't know what that is.
It's on the toolbar. There is a text tool, drawing tool, stamps.
Oh, okay. No, I was asking her, where did you get all the answers? Did you look in the catalog? Yeah, I see all the hearts. That's nice. Okay, any other qualities? These are the educational strategies that we follow. These are the principles that we apply to every one of our schools. Okay, we all have to have meat. We all have to have vegetables. We all have to eat dairy. Okay, so these are the types of ingredients, the categories, the principles that must be applied. There's many ways to apply them, but all YWAM schools have to have these. Okay, what does it say in the catalog, in the reference guide? When I list them off, you'll all say, oh yeah, I know. I wanted you to think about them. I think, Patricia, you can only write those that are in the computer. Sorry if this isn't working well. We hoped it would, so it'll be fun to watch our list come together. Okay, I'm going to type them in English. Maybe somebody could type them in Spanish or Portuguese for me so we can see the list come together. Okay, so Miriam started with live, learn, which is a good one. Learning by doing. Okay, another one I already put on there was resource teachers. Having people who are expert in their field coming to teach us. Right? We have resource teachers. We also have resident staff. We have school leaders like yourselves that look after the students. We don't just have strangers come every week as resource teachers. There's always resident staff that are there providing that relationship, connecting all of the ideas. Okay? Let's see, let me just finish these last couple of ideas and then we will start working on what the meaning is of these. Doesn't seem to work quite as easily as I had hoped. Okay, another one we talked about is multicultural. We have a very high value. We, as much as possible, we want to have people from many different cultures all living and studying together, don't we? Okay, intercession and worship. Yes, living in community. That's right. That's that live, learn. On the one hand, we're living and learning together with our classmates and our professors. Good. Formal and informal education. Good. And the last thing is that we remember we are a multiplier for missions. We sort of forget that's in the same category listing. Okay, now work duties, Yusmar has highlighted, that is actually a type of ingredient, okay? These are our educational strategies, okay? And so these are the things that we, hang on, that we want to be sure that the principles are applied into every one of our schools. Okay, a multiplier for missions means we always have the mindset, I want to be doing what I do to go out there and make a difference. I want to be equipping people to go be change makers. We always want to remember that's why we're doing what we're doing. How do we do these things? Okay, so all of our schools should be learn by doing. Okay, there should be a way for us to be tying this into real life. How do we do this? Why do we do this? The application orientation, learning by doing as much as possible during our course, and then of course the outreaches and whatnot. We want to integrate intercession and worship. There's constant responding to God that has to be part of all of our U of N courses. Okay, we talked about resident staff that are building community and relationships and discipleship. We want to have the resource teachers who come and bring fresh bread, not something we read about 10 years ago, but somebody who was just doing this in the field, and they come and they tell us, what was I just doing? What's happening right now? How am I integrating these skills into my Christian testimony and my Christian mission? Okay, and so these are our qualities that are the type of ingredients that we need to have in every school. Now, I want you to pick one from that list. Which one has been, that I hope they've all been important in your experience. Pick one that's really been part of God changing your life. Okay. Was it living with people from other cultures that changed you? Was it all the time that was spent in intercession and worship? Was it the focus of living and learning together and that constant discipleship environment? Pick one of those, and we're going to go into your small groups, and everybody gets to tell 1 minute. What quality did you pick, and how did it affect your life? Which of these, I think there's 7 of them, which one would you highlight as saying having the highest level of impact on your personal life, and how? Okay, so Adriano's going to send us into our groups, and we're just going to take like 7 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes. Everybody has 1 minute to share their story. Okay,
Just
ready?
Just a second, Lisa.
Okay, okay.
Carlinha, você tá com o grupo pronto aí?
Tô sim, posso soltar?
Pode soltar.
7 minutos, né?
Uhum.
Ok.
Okay, is everybody in their group?
Yes.
I need to go get my battery. I'm having all kinds of technical problems here. Warfare. I'm gonna run go get my battery before my computer
Yes,
dies.
just do it. And today, teve mais computador que deu problema.
Foi computador de quem?
Da Laís pifou, a Patrícia Patrick deu ruim também.
To see what were the most common choices that we made as a group. Okay, so this is a little technology thing you can use if you're doing stuff online, and it's called Word Cloud. And Adriano is going to send us a link, and you choose one word to describe the strategy that you chose. So you might say modular, or you might say live, learn, make it one word. Okay, multicultural. I guess you could put resource for resource teacher. So pick the one word that describes the strategy that you talked about. And we're going to all put it into the word cloud, and that will help us get a picture of what we were talking about as a group. So let's see how it works. Did you put the link in there? Yes. See, now look in the chat, and Adriano's got it there.
There is a link there. Adriano Esteban 71.
And you can skip, right? Okay, now how do we see it? Are you going to show it to us on the screen?
I'm gonna present my screen.
Okay. Living in community. Yeah, Daniel's got that.
There you go.
Got it. Okay, so we'll just wait as people keep adding. Natalia, can you put that in the poll? The link that's in the chat? We want to see your answer up on the screen if we can. Nice. Isn't this fun? Takes a little to get it going, but really quickly we can see, wow, this is what we found really life-giving as leaders in our own experience. That's great. You can see all the different languages, the same messages are coming through. That live, learn, and being in community. Oh, good. Yeah, isn't that fun? Good. Okay. So, so we're looking at perhaps things that are familiar and saying, yep, that's what we have to do. When we design our courses, we have to do those things. And we have policies about them and certain number of hours we have to do them. And, we've built our university around these educational strategies. Okay, you have to have these types of ingredients. Okay, but we're looking at it, trying to look at it from a different perspective. Why? Just like ingredients in food, they're life-giving. They create health. And asking you which one was valuable to you and why. Okay, because we're trying to connect to our own story and say, I know these things have value. They changed my life. And so when we come back around to this question of what does it mean to staff a school and lead a school? We've talked about the big vision of the university. We've talked about the structure of the university in these last sessions. And now we're talking about what are the ingredients we have to make our own meals? How do we make a course that's life-giving, that's sabroso, that's tasty, that's nutritious? And so we're looking at these categories of ingredients again. Remind ourselves, why do we do this? Because if we know we have to, it'll be like that little piece of vegetable on our plate that we don't really like, but we eat it anyway. If we remind ourselves, this is so valuable. I love this. There's so many ways to prepare this that make it inviting and tasty as well as nutritious. So now we want to look at what do we actually do in our schools? Okay. And there are lots of familiar practices. Like, well, we have work duties. Well, we have love feasts. We have small groups. Okay. These are practices. They're common practices. They're good practices. But why do we do them? How are they connected back into these educational strategies? Okay, lots of ingredients, but we have to have these food types in our schools. So each small group is going to be assigned one of these educational strategies. And your job is to think of what are all the practices that we usually do in schools that are part of, that are an expression of this educational strategy. Okay, so for example, work duties, very common practice, bears a lot of good fruit. Why do we have work duties? Which of these educational strategies is the reason behind why we do work duties? What would you say? Is it part of being multicultural? Is it an expression of that strategy? Not so much. Is it part of having resource teachers? Yeah, not so much. Is it part of learning by doing? Yeah, it could be, because we're putting things into practice. Sometimes we're putting skills into practice. Sometimes we're putting character into practice, aren't we? Okay, so it might be an expression of the learning by doing. It can also be an expression of the live, learn. We're living together in community and we're learning through those relationships. I'm sure, you know, the old saying, everybody looks good sitting in class. The measure of your character is what's it like when you're cleaning the toilets. Okay, so it's a practice, but there's an educational strategy behind it. It's part of our live, learn strategy that if you're really going to see change, you're going to see it happening day-to-day life in close relationship, right? So each group will assign you one of these educational strategies. Your job is to identify all of the common practices that we usually do in schools and that are part of your educational strategy. And again, I want you to use your jam pad and post all of your thinking about your strategy. Okay?
Okay. For how long are you going to be in the groups, Lisa?
We're just going to take about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then we're going to come back, and then we'll go back into our small groups and think about it a little bit differently.
Okay, so each one of the groups you have on the chat, in each category you need to think, okay? I'm going to open the groups right now.
Okay, well, I've got a list of things I could think of. And what I really want to do here is stretch. And to go, oh yeah, well, we do work duties and we do small groups. Like, yeah, what else? What else? What else? And get them to realize, oh, wow, the way I decorate the classroom.
Yeah.
That's something that is a learning tool. Oh yeah, having roommates, that's a learning tool. Oh yeah, and you know, kind of expand that and go back and go, why are we doing this? There's an educational strategy behind each one. They're not, because really it's kind of funny, and they're not required. They're not required.
Yeah.
But we found their common practices because they work.
It's true.
But reminding ourselves, there's no place in the catalog that says you have to have a small group or a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Why do we do them? Because we have to, because we always do? No, because there's an educational strategy behind it. So as I'm trying to make people think about it, once we've gone through the familiar ones, then I think it'll be time for a break. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I want to come back and go, okay, what are some spices? What are some new things you can do? What are some things that really work in Latin America that you can do? And just get them to think about what are specific things you can do within those categories that, you know, bring out the meaning, make it fun, increase the impact, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so get them to think a little bit about new stuff.
Okay. And are we going to cover the multiply for missions? Because today is just 3 of us here.
Oh, yeah. That's good. I forgot we were assigned that. Multiplier for missions. Yeah, I didn't realize that was an educational strategy. It's like, what? It doesn't seem to match. It doesn't seem to be the same category of thinking, but it is so central, right? Well, to me, the probably the main things are that, you know, there's always some kind of an outreach, field assignment, you know, all those, they're linked in with the lecture.
Okay, I'm going to jump in my small group just to clarify what they need to do.
Sure.
And I'll just a minute.
What we came up with. A lot of these things should be familiar to us, but we're trying to look at them in a new way, remind ourselves, Why are we doing what we're doing? Okay, could someone translate what those are? Let's see, group one, this is learning by doing.
So we have serving the community,
Mhm.
Being in the classroom. I see you doing, then I do. Inspirational is in seeing, doing, and not only listening.
Okay, good. Good. So those practical things that we do that make the immediate field application of what we're learning. Okay. Now, could be work duty that can be, I know a lot of bases try to match a little bit of what are these students learning. Is there some way that their work duty could be tied into that skill development? So that can be something that is part of the learning by doing. The community outreach that can be done during the school. Good. Okay. Let's have a look at the live learn group number 2. What were some of the ones? Can somebody translate that? Okay, it's translated already into English
Yep.
and Spanish or Portuguese.
Yes, it's in Portuguese and English.
Do we need to translate into Spanish? Okay. So the value is live, learn. Okay, so this is all about living together, okay, and being in relationship with each other and with our resource teachers, okay, and with our staff. We're all living together. And so practical work, the work duties is a great example of, we don't just do it because the base needs help. We don't just do it because we want to make students irritable and look at their character, you know. There's an educational strategy behind this. It's part of deepening the learning and bringing out the character growth, isn't it? Love feasts, good. Teaching the value and the honor of celebrating what we're doing well, celebrating in the presence of the Lord, honoring one another. There's so many things that come out in love feasts. Roommates, oh yeah. How many people learned things from roommates? Things that you will cherish forever, things that made you crazy. Okay? There's such a strategic part. We don't just have roommates because we don't have enough rooms for everyone to be by themselves. There's an educational strategy behind it that maximizes someone's growth. Okay, just in general, our relationships with each other. Are we intentionally building relationships in our schools? They're not just sitting next to each other or sleeping next to each other. How do we build those relationships? Okay, one-on-ones. Okay, good. It can be correction. It can be encouragement, personal ministry. I see you. You're not lost in the crowd. Okay, some bases have small groups, and that is an important part of a weekly or every other week experience. And that's another way to intensify and be thoughtful, make sure everyone's building intentional relationships.
Esa es otra manera de intensificar y estar.
Sorry? Somebody translate that? If it was meant to be translated? Okay, that's a nice list. Yep. And thinking again, we don't just do this stuff. How do we use these tools? How do we use these ingredients to create healthy, vibrant meals that nourish our students? Okay, group 3. This is modular education. Why do we do that? Curry, yay. Let's see. Okay, modular education is part of what allows us to have resident teachers come in, or visiting teachers. Not too many could come for 3 months, but they're able to come because we do things in modular, right? Okay. Can somebody translate those?
The importance of these teachers that have contact with transcultural, they understand the mission.
Oh, okay. They thought that the topic was resident resource teachers. Okay, good. So let's look at that. Why is this important for us? How is this? This is an educational strategy. What do we do? Good. We bring in chocolate and curry. That's good.
Yeah, and lasagna. Then teachers that come to our school, they must have the DNA and the values of the mission.
Oh, sorry. My mistake. I must have left out modular. Okay.
Yeah. Then teachers from other cultures and languages.
Right. Good.
Teachers that have the DNA, visiting teachers that have the DNA. Then brigadeiro, chocolate, mantequilla.
Yes. My
and
kind of
so
ingredient.
on and so forth.
Good. Okay, so again, it's not just because our staff don't know enough. Okay, even if we have highly qualified staff, we want to bring in those resource teachers because they're bringing in fresh experience. They're bringing in experience from outside the mission. They're bringing in experience from outside of our culture. They're bringing in that practical integration of what we're training our students to do. So there's a tremendous value. How do you use those resource teachers? Do you just have them for lecture? Setting up meals, having them meet with small groups, setting them up to share some of their stories publicly with the campus. So many different ways that we can incorporate and build on the unique strength that each resource teacher brings. Okay, so thinking about what are the practices that the educational strategy is having them with us. What are some of the practices that that we often do? So for example, a lot of bases have meals with the resource teachers set up. And so everybody's on a schedule of when you get to have a meal with a resource teacher, usually in small groups. Or you can sign up if you don't want to legislate it. You can say, hey, here's his meal schedule. You can sign up and share a meal with him or her. So that's a common practice at a lot of bases, so that we're trying to make those links for our students so they have a chance to get to know those people. Okay, next group. I won't make the mistake that I know which one it was. It was multicultural. Okay, good. That's the learning strategy. What are the things that we do in our schools?
We have multicultural. We have to have teachers from different cultures and ages. The students from different countries.
Good. Yep.
Intercession for different cultures.
Good.
To invite people with experience, with missionary experience from other places.
Good.
Meetings in languages. In the heart language of the community. Worship with the languages that we have at the base. Intercession for the nations. Presentations. Yeah.
Good.
For you. Arroz con limón.
Right. So the purpose of that educational strategy is open your mind, open your heart, open your spirit. There's a lot of ways to do life outside of Latin America. There's a lot of different perspectives and ways to connect with God. There's lots of different understandings about values and relationships. There's so many things that are only brought to our attention when we're living closely with people from a different culture. We all know that, don't we? That's part of the reason I wanted us to remember our own stories, because as our word cloud showed, a lot of times that's a hugely influential part of our education, is simply those relationships. And so thinking, what do we do to maximize the benefit of that educational strategy? And these are great common ideas that we have. One of them might be not the love feast that's the celebration at the end, but eating different cultures' foods at different times. Sometimes it's as a fundraiser, sometimes it's just a celebration, sometimes the base will do it, but just intentionally saying, let's think outside our cultures. Let's stretch our hearts to welcome in relationships and revelation that comes from other cultures, isn't it? Lots of practices can come out of having that value. Okay, I think we're in our last group and then we'll have our break. Oh, goodness, busy. Which one was this one?
School staff, this one.
School staff, okay.
School staff?
Oh, yeah, why do we have resident staff? Resident school leaders, resident staff, good.
Okay, then we have to walk the extra mile, service, love feast,
good.
Intentionality.
Yeah, good.
To be ready to serve and walk along the students. To have what's the name again?
Accountability.
Oh gosh, accountability. Yes, accountability.
Accountability,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Pray together, to be authentic in friendship, authority in doing, and to then teach. Small groups, be the first to say yes to the need.
Good.
And something else here.
Good.
Prayer, intercession, leadership, to be generous.
Good.
Model Jesus.
Good.
One-on-one.
Good. Okay. So a lot of things that we do, why do we do them? Why do we have one-on-ones? Why do we have small groups? Why do we have school staff? Is it because the school leader's lazy and he wants everybody else to do the work? No. School staff provide that continuity, that depth, that individual, the example and the model. That's why it's so important. You're engaged in the classroom, you're focused, you know what's happening, you know what the content is, you know what Holy Spirit's doing, because you are that bridge and that continuity. You are helping students go deeper. You're the model that they're looking at. Not perfect. You're also a model of how to fail, how to be accountable, how to be transparent. But so reminding ourselves, what's the educational strategy behind having school staff and school leaders? It gives us a reason to do what we do. It gives us values to live by. And then we can start thinking about, well, what else could I do to be fulfilling those goals and values? How does my role, what are other things I can do because I'm resident staff and student? How do I fulfill those goals and purposes that God's given us as an educational strategy? Do you see? It's not just a job to do. There's a reason behind it that's part of the unique formation of the U of N. Okay, I think there was one more slide. This is worship and prayer, is that it?
No, this is the multicultural.
Multicultural, okay, good.
No, this is the...
No, this is 6, intercession and worship.
Intercession and worship, okay. Yeah, this is a really good one to remind ourselves of. Because you can go, oh man, do we have to have another intercession time? This is we should pray because Jesus says pray, but how is this part of our educational strategy? How is this part of reaching our goals of formation in a U of N student? What does intercession and worship teach? It teaches dependency. It teaches listening to God, and that's where our faith comes from. It teaches humility. It teaches having a big enough heart to care for the world. All of these things that these guys have. Yeah, welcoming Holy Spirit, increasing our love. Yeah. So reminding ourselves, why am I doing this? Helps us be creative and intentional and give it value. Okay. Good. Okay, and then the last slide was just our own short reflections as facilitators. Multiplier for missions. And that is just kind of almost a summary, isn't it? Reminding ourselves, why are we doing all this? Not to be smart, not to get rich, but because we're passionate about going out and making things happen in the world. We're change makers. And each of our staff, each of our students are going to go out and change the world. And so what do we do to see that happen? Well, mostly it's that outreach component that's built right into most of our courses, isn't it? Almost all of them tie into, within one course or two courses, it's time to do an outreach. It's time to do an internship, because we want to always be putting things into practice. Okay. We want to stay focused on the fact that we're multiplying for missions to make a difference for the world. Okay. And so we do community outreach during school. Okay. We have intercession for the nations, multicultural meals, resource teachers that come in from outside. It's kind of a final integrating piece. What are we doing to keep ourselves fresh and focused? We ran into trouble with this a couple of years back in the year 2000. Some of you weren't even born yet. I'm happy to say we want young leaders, but we just about lost our anointing because these things became business as usual. Oh, we just do them because we do them. Haven't we outgrown them? Can't we be a real university now? Okay. And we began to lose the why. And we just about lost our anointing, didn't we, older ones? And so we just have got to constantly stir ourselves to faith. Why do we do this stuff? Do we have to? Why? Do I have to spend that much time? Why? I can't think of a new way to do it. Go back to the why so that we lead with conviction and clarity and creativity. Okay, take our break now. We're going to come back and we're going to put some of it into practice. So come back in 10 minutes and we'll head toward the finish line. Here we are, back again. Okay. How are we doing, Adriano? Are most of us back?
It looks like.
Okay.
Or not.
All right. Now's the time we're going to work on our ingredients again. A couple of areas that didn't come out in our discussions, at least that I could see on the sticky notes, is thinking about our classroom environment. Now, I know from walking into a lot of U of N classrooms that normally that is given quite a lot of thought. Have you thought about that as one of the tools that you have to fulfill our educational strategies? The way you decorate your room can fulfill the multicultural strategy. It can fulfill the live-learn strategy. It can, you be intentional about how are the seats arranged? What's on the walls? How are people all in rows looking at the resource teacher? Are they allowed to sit on the floor? Are their desks arranged facing each other? Okay, how you decorate, how you do your classroom setup says so much about the kind of learning you expect to have, the kind of relationships that you want to foster, the heart attitude you want to be cultivating in your students. And so it's maybe not something that I saw on a list, but I think it's something that we do give thought to. So we want it to be attractive, to convey value to people, a welcoming space that expresses hospitality. Have you thought about your hospitality arrangements? We all know Auntie Darlene's taught us we must be hospitable. Why? Is that an educational strategy? Yes, it is. It's part of giving that value to an individual. It's part of that. There's my list here. I saw the word hospitality in Portuguese there somewhere. Yeah, it's part of that. Maybe it's part of that live learn education, isn't it? It's saying that we care about your physical needs. We want to nurture you. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable. The way things are set up, usually, often, I walk into U of N school break times, and there's a little flour on the table. Even if it's a low budget school and you're eating crackers, you know, it's on a pretty napkin, or there's a flower that was picked from outside. But those little things that convey this is a valuable time and you're a valuable person. And so thinking about the simple elements of hospitality, why do we do those? It's not just, I didn't understand that when I first started with the mission. And then I worked closely with Darlene for a little while. And she just seemed obsessed with it. I thought, really? Do we have to go to that much trouble? Do we have to fold the napkins like that? Do we have to, you know? And I didn't really see the value of it. But I was working alongside of her and David Hamilton, and we were hosting an event for senior mission leaders around the United States. And they came with their wives. And this particular group had never been together outside of a boardroom, outside of a very business-like environment. And so Darlene coached me, really worked strongly with me to make sure that the hospitality was simple, but it was beautiful and it was welcoming. And I felt like she pushed too hard and there was too much attention given to it. I didn't really see why we had to work so hard at it. But as people started leaving after they'd been there for a few days, and I mean, these were very senior people that wouldn't have any particular reason to talk to me. And so many of them sought me out because they knew I'd been in charge of, you know, the hosting the event. They said, thank you. The hospitality made me feel so welcome. It made me feel secure. It made me comfortable relationally. It set such a tone for us to develop relationships with each other that's never happened in all the years that we've met in offices. Well, I tell you, I've never wondered about the value of hospitality since. That convinced me. So I've been in schools where there isn't much hospitality, and there's a package of crackers on a table and a couple of paper cups, and I think, okay, that's also communicating a value, but it's not a good value. It's not taking the opportunity to say, our time together is valuable. You are valuable. So again, we don't want to just think, oh, people just had breakfast, never mind. Why? Why are we doing this? How do we use each element to fulfill our educational strategies so that we see the fruit that God wants to see, the unique contribution that we make as YWAM to what God's doing on the earth. So we're going to go back into your groups, get out your spices, okay? I want you to go back into your groups, and I want you to start thinking of creative ways that you can fulfill your educational strategy. We talked about things we already do. Talk about a new way to do it. What's something new and different you can do? Okay, so go back into the area that you've already been thinking about. Pick up your spices and say, Lord, help us spice it up a little bit. What's a new way that we can fulfill the old things, the old educational strategies, the common practices that we've seen work, but they can get old. We just do them because we do them. Give us new ways to do it, Lord. Okay, so you're going to go back into your small groups. You're going to have about 8 minutes to do this. And I want you to come away with 1 or 2 ideas for how you can do it online, because we may be at this for a little while. And even if COVID opens up, we may find that we are able to start using online course delivery. I think I mixed up my spices too much. We may find that we are using a combination of online and face-to-face, or we start doing some online things. We can't change our values, but we're going to change the way we're doing it. We've already been discovering that, but it's been hard. So let's take this time to go back and say, these are our core strategies. How do we do it in a new way, face-to-face? What are 1 or 2 ways we could start to do this online? Okay. So go back into your groups, use your jam pads, and I want to see some new ideas. Okay, new ways we can do these old things so they are fresh and life-giving for us. Okay, family. Welcome back. Let's see how your spices came up. All these creative leaders. I want to see what you're thinking about. This is where I get excited. I'm from the College of Education, so I love the educational process. Anybody get bored in the classroom, you need some ideas? Ask me. I love doing that kind of thing because I just see there's so much creativity when we understand why and we have the value and the revelation. Boom, there's no end to the creativity, and spicing it up keeps things fresh for us and for our students. So let's see what you got here. Adriano, can we look at the jam pad? Oh, good. That's a good place for the listing. Okay, can somebody read this? Prepare a love feast online. Oh, can somebody explain that?
Prepare a love feast online with the table set and the food meal and the cameras on, so they participate together.
Nice. That is so cool. I never thought of that. Good. Okay.
Write letters to others, staff to students, students to students. One idea from one another.
Okay. Good.
To make to have a live stream in social media sharing meditation or a quiet time or a devotional. Each student a day or weekly.
Okay.
Send to the teacher that is remote every day something as a snack, words, or souvenir.
A souvenir?
A souvenir, yeah.
Okay. So this one was learning by doing. Is that right?
Number one. Where is the list? Let me go back here. Learn by doing, yes.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Number two. Well. Grupo 2. Oh.
There.
Ta-da, ta-da.
Okay.
That's in English and Portuguese.
Okay. So here's what they are thinking about how we are going to work together in this live-learn environment. Some fresh ways to do it and some ways to do it if we're online. Okay. So let's see. Keeping a journal. Yep. That is something that I know my school leaders that I've been working with, asking them, what are you doing to create community, to deepen revelation so that it's not just, watching over a screen. And they are really using the journals a lot. They are making the assignments quite in depth and taking a long time, asking very probing questions that make you think and apply different things that you're learning, apply them personally. So they're really increasing the use of the journal as a major point of reflection and integration and application. So they are finding that's always helpful in schools, but in this online environment, they're finding it a really important part of going deep with each other and with the content. Okay. Virtual cross-cultural meetings. Yeah. Good. And now you can connect. You've got about 1,200 operating locations in YWAM. So you could connect anywhere in the world, couldn't you? Find a YWAM base and share worship, share a meal, share stories, share all kinds of stuff. Okay. Online practical work. I wonder what that looks like. Practical activities, take pictures, share virtual meetings. Good. Lots of things we can do with photos, taking little video clips, lots of ways that we can continue to share life together. A couple of my school leaders are having work duties at home and saying, what's your work duty at home? Take a picture of it. What are you, how are you serving? Maybe what's your community service look like? What can be a work duty equivalent for you? Okay. Creative ways to work in a group through a platform. Okay. Jamboard. Good. Okay. Good. Next one should be group 3. I got you right this time. You're the resource teachers. Good. What are some new ways that we can be connecting with our resource teachers? Looks like that's what they shared before. Okay.
Better use of the internet. Better use of the internet during the COVID season. Here it's in English. Why am I repeating that?
Okay. Good. It actually, yeah, go ahead. Orality.
Orality on our schools. To send the document, U of N, a new kind of animal, to all teachers so they learn more. Teach how to teach online.
Good. Yeah. We were going to bring that up. you probably have already heard that Adriano did a really wonderful seminar on that pretty early on with COVID, and he is going to do another one, which is really great to hear. So that's something you can let Adriano and Carlina know if you would like to participate. I know in my college, we're starting to do very short workshops for teachers and how you can teach online effectively. So there's lots of resources available, but it's an important question. Just like our classrooms, if we just put a resource teacher in front and turn them on and let them go and they talk for 3 hours, okay, they might have great content, but that's not a learning process that allows our students to keep bringing new learning into the mind and applying to the heart. Okay, and this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow, is the learning process and how we can keep making our learning process more and more effective. So the bottom line is effective classroom teaching methods, that you do that face-to-face, you can do the same thing online. Poor classroom teaching methods are going to be poor online practice. So we're going to be exploring that a little bit, and then thinking about what kinds of technological tools do we have that we can use to make learning interactive. We can use Zoom, we can see each other, we can do breakouts, we can use Jampad, we can message each other on WhatsApp, we can have shared whiteboards. But we first have to have in our minds, I want a way for people to talk together and learn through discussion. I want a way for people to create visuals of what they're learning. Okay, you have to set that as your goal, and then you can find the technology to make it happen. Okay, so these are really good points of saying, well, what does good learning process look like? That's the first question. Then how do I do it online is the second question. Okay, so these are great things of how do we use our resource teachers well. We don't just park them in front of the camera, let them talk for 3 hours, any more than we should put them in front of our live classrooms and let them talk for 3 hours. How do we build relationship with them? How do we let students process what they're learning and hearing, draw out their personal experiences, that kind of thing. Good, so we want to keep thinking about that. How do we do that well? Good, next one, group 4, be school staff. New ideas. Oh, I like how they put a graphic in the back, good for them.
But I think we read that. New ideas there.
New ideas.
Okay.
Oh, Adriano, es la otra. El que está al lado dice nuevas ideas.
Este.
Sí.
Okay. To use social networks for evangelism in our schools. Invite people from other cultures to share about their food, language.
Yep.
Cooking classes with people from other cultures via Zoom.
Nice. Very nice.
To have evaluations, weekly evaluations with online tools like Kahoot.
Good.
All that with Carne Sal Arena Fun.
Okay. Sorry, there's some translation challenges happening. Okay. Yeah, keep thinking. I mean, the normal things that we do, reaching out to immigrant communities, having students research a culture that they're passionate about, that they can present meals, they can present music, they, you know, all the things we do to make intercession times come alive, enter in with different cultures. How can we keep doing that in a way that's fresh? Okay, how can we keep doing new things, different things? How can we do it online? Okay, let's go on to the next one, intercession. Almost done.
Adriano, só um minutinho. We don't have translation in Spanish. So just need-
Jonathan, is Jonathan back? He wasn't.
No, no está, pero me puedes poner a mí, yo puedo ayudar con la traducción. A Daniel se le apagó su celular.
Dale.
Gracias.
So where are we up to on this one?
All right, so to teach about finances and kingdom. Talk show with people immersed in cross-cultural environments, students learning dynamically about cross-culturality.
Good.
Intercession and worship in other languages. Intentional with students about translation of the Bible. Share more about Uniscript. Interaction between students from different countries and states. Schools done in partnership with more than one base, with small groups shared between the bases.
Nice. Why not?
And students bringing interesting information from the place where they have been or they have the desire to go. Needs for intercession from the places and so on.
Good. Yeah. Lots of different ways. I know one of my course leaders, they have their students do a research project and they have to dig down deep into a particular culture and come up with some different strategies. For us, it's education. How could we reach into that culture through education? You know, you've got different schools that are represented. You know, have them create a way to teach someone else what they're learning. Sometimes if you have to teach a child something that you're learning, that makes you think about it in a different way. How would you present this to another culture? I had that as a learning assignment for my junior high kids once when I had junior high kids. How would you share your testimony with a teenager in that country? How would you change it and why? What have you learned about that nation and what it's like to be a teenager? Look it up, research it, pray over it. Now tell your testimony to someone from that culture. How would you change it and why? So there's lots of ways you can stretch into that. You can have them write songs, have them make up games, have them think about the questions you're asking in the journals that are unusual questions. You know, what did you learn this week? That's a good question. You could say, what color was this week for you and why? What is one tool that you feel you have to work with now in your ministry as a result of this week? Which tool did you pick and why? So you can use the familiar strategies that we have in new ways, just by asking a different question, having the room set up in a new way, having people take turns setting up the room, giving them a different criteria. This week we're studying this, your team is on room setup. How are you going to decorate it? Your team, you're on hospitality for the week. Here's our theme. How are you going to take us deeper in that theme by the way you're doing our hospitality? Okay. So pushing ourselves, how can we do this? How can we do this online? So many different media opportunities. You know, you can, what's your favorite song? You know, put some images together and have your song in the background. How does that express your heart for this nation, or what you've just learned about the heart of God for whatever you're learning that week? You can even do skits on Zoom. You can skits and role plays and scenarios where you put people in difficult situations and say, here's your situation. What would you do? How would you apply this week's teaching? and they're just wrestling with it. Okay. And you can say wrestle with it and then do a role play with us. Let's see how each group responded to that scenario. Okay. So there's lots of ways. Processing questions for your resource teacher. Have everybody think of, 3 questions they want to ask. Then have them think of 3 more. Have them think of 3 more. Okay. Dig deeper. Get them to think about different types of questions, coming at it from different angles. We'll talk some more about this learning process stuff tomorrow. So what have we done tonight? So far, we've been looking at what's the vision of the U of N, what's the structure of the U of N. Now, what are the strategies for how, within our structure, how are we going to reach that goal? Okay. And that's where we have our educational strategies. And then the practices that come out of those educational strategies and all of the creativity and spices we can add that make each course yours. They express your personality. They express your culture. Okay. So we're trying to look at perhaps familiar elements, but look at them again with new meaning, new value, new creativity, so that we're leading intentionally. The last question I want us to look at, I know we're right at our closing time, is what are a couple things, how have we been learning? Okay, this is our 4th session. We're going to close in pairs, partners. And I want you each to identify what are 2 ways that we've learned, not 2 points of content that we've covered, but what are 2 ways that you have been learning? Okay, it might be, I loved listening to the stories. I loved being able to work in small groups. I loved being able to create, a visual. So think about not just what we've learned, but how have we learned? Okay. And I want you to be ready to share that with your partner. And then I want you to pray over your spices together. and we're going to dedicate our spices to the Lord and say, Lord, I am going to lead in new ways, fresh ways with fresh understanding and revelation. So you hold your spice and you commit yourself. And then you pray for each other. Lord, you bring us some freshness, something new. Okay? So reflect just a minute or 2 with each other. How have you learned today? And then close by praying together over these fresh things that we want God to do. Carlene is showing me homework.
Yeah, 5 minutes, it's enough for them to share?
Yeah.
Okay. 5 minutes.
Okay, they're coming back.
I think we are all back.
Okay. All right, friends. I'm sorry. I should have stopped and not taken so much more of your time, but I did want us to have that chance to pray together about these things, because God has lots for us and always keeping it fresh. So your homework is to think, what are 2 new things that you can do? Okay, maybe the same ingredients. How can you spice it up a little bit? So the homework we're posting in Google Classroom. We haven't given the clear instructions the first few days. So we're sort of gradually formalizing things a bit. So in the Google Classroom, you'll see for each session, there is something labeled as an assignment. Okay. If you're not sure how to post your homework, we can post some instructions in the WhatsApp. We'll repost the link to the Google Classroom in there. So just a couple of sentences, doesn't have to be long. I know you're preparing for tomorrow morning with the learning styles with Anna, and that'll be a really fun session to help bring some structure to our creativity. Okay. So, Lord, thank you for these dear friends. Thank you for time to re-engage with the engine of the U of N. Why do we do what we do? How can we do it with purpose and creativity and passion and joy and wisdom so that we see your fruit to go out and impact the nations? Bless these guys now as we all sleep and come back refreshed in the morning for more of what you want to teach us. In Jesus' name, amen.